Naranasan ko ng maiwan. Hindi ko na mabilang kung ilang beses akong nakiusap hanggang sa maubos ang pangungusap. Naisip ko na ring sumuko dahil sa sunod-sunod na bagyo. Parang walang katapusan itong kalbaryo. Saan nga ba ako patungo? Saan ba ang dulo nito? Sa paglalakbay, muntik na akong huminto. Pero sinalubong mo ko. Bumungad sa akin yung mga mata mong gustong matuto. Ang mga kamay mong sabik sumulat. Ang mga labi mong nais bumigkas na mga salitang nakakapawi ng pagod. Tinatalo mo itong lungkot at takot. Binibigyan mo ng sagot ang mga katanungan sa aking puso.
Masampat, abi-abi, mga anak.
Masampat pala, abi-abi ka mo.
Na sa dami ng alinlangan ko't tanong sa mundo, ito ang nag-iisang sigurado. Mahal ko ang pagtuturo. Ito ang nagbibigay buhay sa aking pagkatao. At ang mga pangarap nila, ang aking ligaya. Minsan na rin akong naiwan.
Nagsaaman.
Kaya't sisikapin kong hindi mo ito maranasan.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Dear God, thank you for the amazing world you have made. Help us to care for every aspect of your creation. Thank you for the wonders of physics, medicine, and astronomy. Help us to engage with each facet of the universe. Thank you for the power of the creative arts. Help us to pioneer new vision and sounds in our generation. Thank you for our incredible minds and bodies. Help us to become all we could be as individuals. Thank you for our family, friendships, community and relationships. Help us to accept, nurture and forgive one another. Thank you for all these great things in our lives. May we play our part in bringing peace, prosperity and justice to all. Amen.
Today we celebrate International Youth Day and the power of partnerships across generations. This year's theme, Intergenerational Solidarity, Creating a World for All Ages, reminds us of a basic truth. We need people of all ages, young and old alike, to join forces to build a better world for all. Too often, ageism, bias and discrimination prevent this essential collaboration. When young people are shut out of the decisions being made about their lives, or when older people are denied a chance to be heard, we all lose. Solidarity and collaboration are more essential than ever as our world faces a series of challenges that threaten our collective future. From COVID-19 to climate change, to conflicts, poverty, inequality and discrimination, we need all hands on deck to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and build the better, more peaceful future we all seek. We need to support young people with massive investments in education and skills building, including through next month's Transforming Education Summit. We also need to support gender equality and expanded opportunities for young people to participate in civic and political life. It's not enough to listen to young people. We need to integrate them into decision-making mechanisms at the local, national and international levels. This is at the heart of our proposal to establish a new youth office at the United Nations. And we need to ensure that older generations have access to social protection and opportunities to give back to their communities and share the decades of lived experience they have accumulated. On this important day, let's join hands across generations to break down barriers and work as one to achieve a more equitable, just and inclusive world for all people.
On behalf of the Philippine National Commission for UNESCO, also called UNACOM, we are honored to be part of the celebration of the International Youth Day. We express our sincere gratitude to the Department of Education. Through the dynamic International Cooperation Office, led by Director Margarita Ballesteros, we get to highlight today the important role that the youth play not just in the future, but in the present as well. I extend my warmest congratulations to the roster of young speakers this afternoon, who are all winners. They are winning the challenge of being the positive change that we want to see in the world. We see your initiatives as aligned with UNESCO's trusts. For decades now, UNESCO has been engaging thousands of youth to work on peace building and prevention of violent extremism. UNESCO remains committed to empowering the youth, providing platforms that will not only create connections among youth, but also to the rest of the world. Annually, UNESCO supports and promotes the International Youth Day, which for this year has the theme Intergenerational Solidarity, Creating a World for All Ages. Like UNESCO, our office, the UNICOM, supports the aim to amplify the message that action is needed from all generations to achieve the Agenda 2030 and the 17 SDGs and leave no one behind. I am confident that all of you who are here today are doing your own share in addressing the barriers to intergenerational solidarity to contribute to realizing the SDGs. Let us continue our aim for solidarity not just in words but also in action. In the face of economic, social, and geopolitical risks, we have to embrace the role of being global citizens with urgency and unity. Thus, we at UNICOM envision global students as global citizens who also help in healing post-crisis contexts, who are ready to collaborate on peace-building projects and initiatives, who embrace lifelong learning, and who are open to the use of indigenous knowledge and digital technologies to reach out and be positive influencers. Global citizens who proactively support efforts to preserve quality education for children and youth. As global citizens, we allow universal values to move us without forgetting that we also face our own realities in our families, our communities, our own country. But in the pandemic era, we are reminded that no one can work and move in silo. Furthermore, we are reminded that the youth need to be part of the platforms for knowledge exchange, collaboration, and consolidation of ideas for localized solutions. We cannot discount the capacity of the youth to contextualize and share their own skills, talents, and learnings and experiences towards adapting solutions to local needs and cultural realities. Today is a proof that the voices and actions of Filipino youth as global students, as global citizens, are of high impact and significance. The youth influence decision makers, communities, and greatly contribute to nation building. It can resonate beyond Philippines to contribute to shaping a sustainable world. As you think of ways to further create impact in a world full of uncertainties and challenges, may you continue to also be attuned with your hearts. Hearts that feel for others. Hearts that may be battered and broken at times, but remain strong, resilient, compassionate, and ready to transform the world for the better. Thank you and mabuhay kayong lahat.
Today is the 23rd year celebration of International Youth Day. 193 member United Nations countries will remember and celebrate this day to reflect on our contributions to the upliftment of our youth sectors. A time and a challenge for us to do better, to include more young people in our decision making, especially all concerns that affect them. What are some of the difficulties young people are facing? Half the children between age 6 and 13 lack basic reading and math skills. Childhood poverty is still a prevalent problem globally. Today, there are 1.2 billion young people aged 15 to 24 years old, accounting to 16% of the global population. These young people are helping us in the attainment of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, facing its challenges every day, praying for the realization of SDGs in their lifetime. The goal of International Youth Day is to draw attention to the world's youth, highlighting young people's challenges, needs, and triumphs around the globe. The World Youth Report on Youth and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development prepared by the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, examines the mutually supportive roles of the new agenda and current youth development efforts. The report provides insights into the role of young people in the sustainable development in the context of the implementations of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and related frameworks. The IYD international theme for 2022 is Intergenerational Solidarity, Creating a World for All Ages. This intergenerational solidarity will lead us to the attainment of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, a world that will uplift the conditions of every human being. I would like to thank the Department of Education International Cooperation Office staff, headed by Dr. Margarita Consolacion Ballesteros, and more importantly, the Department of Education Secretary, Madam Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte, for organizing this meaningful event for our young people. Our theme for today's gathering is Empowered Youth, making real impact on society and beyond. Truly, an empowered youth will make an impact in our society. We will hear messages from the grassroots, from the youth themselves, coming from the Global Student Prize Top 50 finalists. They will be taking on their perspective, concerns, solutions, and challenges they are facing, and will encourage their fellow youth of the opportunities to help in solving this problem. The condition of our world today is the world our young people have built. Let us continue to build a better, stronger world for our future generations. As we start our classes soon, let us be mindful that COVID-19 is real and it is still around the corner. Let us do our part in preventing it by wearing masks, good hand washing, and get vaccinated. I wish all a safe and productive school year ahead, and I thank all our teachers. I thank all our teachers for all your hard work, especially in giving the best education to our young people that they deserve. Maraming salamat po. Magandang araw. Ito po si Roderick Cruz ng United Nations Association of the Philippines. Mabuhay po kayong lahat.
Pleasant greetings to all, especially to our learners, teachers, and viewers who are tuning in via Facebook in today's celebration of the International Youth Day and National Youth Day. On behalf of the Youth Formation Division, I would like to commend the International Cooperations Office, headed by our very dynamic Director Margarita Ballesteros, for being our active partner in promoting the active participation of our learners, especially the Filipino youth. The YFD is one with the DepEd and the ASEAN in celebrating the International Youth Day with the theme Intergenerational Solidarity, Creating a World for All Ages. Our goal really is to work together to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and at the same time build a brighter future for the generations to come. For today's event, the theme is Empowered Youth Making Real Impacts on Society and Beyond. It is very evident that the youth is indeed the hope of our nation. Later on, our ICO will recognize some of our exemplary students who became finalists of the Global Student Prize. Indeed, the Filipino youth is becoming more and more prominent, in not only locally, but in the international arena on the field of science and technology, literature, and culture and the arts. Tunay nga na ang mga kabataan natin ay may angking puso, galing, at talino. Rest assured that the whole of DepEd, especially the ICO and the Youth Formation Division, under the leadership of ASEC Dexter Galban, will work hard to ensure the holistic development of our learners. Our primary goal is to ensure that the Filipino youth has a voice in the decision-making and imbued with the core values of maka-Diyos, makakalikasan, makatao, at makabansa. In this light, I hope that as you witness our amazing students today in this event, our learners will become inspired to contribute to the betterment of our nation. Again, congratulations, a pleasant morning to all of you. Happy International Day, Youth Day, and National Youth Day. Para sa kabataan, para sa bayan.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Francis Jim Toscano, your host and moderator for today's celebration of the International and National Youth Day 2022. And of course, we are very thankful for the wonderful messages, inspiring messages from our guest, Director Lindsay Barrientos, Deputy Executive Director 2 of the Philippine National Commission for UNESCO, Mr. Roderick Cruz, President, United Nations Association of the Philippines, and Mr. Robin James F. Canha, Officer in Charge Project of the Development Officer Number 4, Youth Formation Division of the Department of Education. Of course, we are very happy to welcome everyone right now, and we are looking into our comment section, and we are live, and we have guests or viewers coming in as far as Apayao and as far as Caraga. We have people or teachers watching from Isabela Region 2, Pangasinan, and Davao, Ormoc City, La Union, and of course, we have international visitors from India and from Indonesia as well. So good afternoon, everyone from the Philippines. We are happy today to welcome the new set of our Filipino student finalists to the Global Student Prize for the year 2022. Of course, we'll be welcoming back our finalists from last year's inaugural competition. But before we start with that, let me just greet also a good afternoon to the leader of our team right now of the Department of Education International Cooperations Office, Dr. Margarita Consolacion Ballesteros, and of course the whole DepEd ICO team for bringing us together. So let's get the ball rolling as we welcome the different our own Pride students who have making an impact in their own communities and in the Philippines. Let's start with the first, our inaugural finalist, if I may say so, to the Global Student Prize 2021 from Quezon. Let's welcome back Mr. Anselmo Catalang, or Mings. He is our 2021 Global Student Prize top 50 finalist from the Philippines. Hi, Mings. Good afternoon.
Hi, Sir Jim. Good afternoon.
Welcome back. So let's call on also our finalists for today's for this year's Global Student Prize. Let's start with Mr. Zanti Alfonso Gavares from, I think he's from Manila, if I may say. I completely forgot that. He is a student from Holy Child Catholic, or he was a student from Holy Child Catholic School in Manila, and now a freshman going to college. Hi, Santi.
Hi, Sir Jim. Good afternoon po.
Good afternoon. And of course, last but not the least, Leia Kyoko, a student from the University of the Philippines, Visayas. Hi, Leia.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me here.
All right. So we're very much happy, and of course, welcome to our today's afternoon's interview. So basically, everyone to our audience right now who are all of not teachers and school leaders, some of you might be parents. We are very privileged at this moment to have in front of us, well, in front of you, amazing students have been doing much work, not just in their studies, but even extracurricular work or work outside the usual life of a student by working with other people in their communities. All right. So before we go to the more serious part, we want to get to know more about you, dear students. I'm a teacher, so I'm calling you students right now. So what's up with everyone right now? How are you? Let's start with Migs.
So hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Let me introduce myself again. I'm Anselmo Miguel Catalia, and I'm the first Filipino finalist of the Check.org Global Student Prize. And currently, I'm an incoming freshman at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and I'm about to take up public administration at NCPAG. And I'm from Quezon, by the way.
Thank you, Mix. Let's have Leia.
Hi everyone, good afternoon again. I'm Leah. I'm from Bacolod, Negros Occidental. I'm also a student at UP Visayas, incoming third year studying applied math and majoring in actuarial science.
Thank you, Leia. And of course, Zanti.
Hi, sir. Hi, guys. I'm Jack Alfonso Bayanes, an incoming first year BSL Sciences student at the Ateneo de Manila University. I entered Global Student Prize when I was enrolled at Holy Health Catholic School under STEM STEM.
All right. Thank you so much for those introductions. So Mix is from Quezon, going on his freshman year in UP. Leia is at UP Visayas from Bacolod, going for third year. And Zanti, of course, going to Ateneo Health Science for his first year. So amazing job, everyone. Congratulations, Migs and Zanti, to being part of those amazing schools right now. So, very interesting. Leia and Zanti, how did you feel when you had or you received the email of Varkey Foundation or Chegg telling you that you are a finalist to this year's Global Student Prize? How was the feeling? Leia, let's
I
go
can
with
start.
you.
Yeah, sure. I think it was just very surreal. I wasn't even expecting to be shortlisted actually to the top 50 because I know there's so many other people who are more accomplished looking at the 2021 finalists, including Migs, as well as those from the other countries and universities as well. So I was very, very humbled and also honored when I found out that I got in. I think the first thing I did was just like reread everything because I thought it was, just like a figment of my imagination with regard to getting the email from the Varkey Foundation. And then I think the first thing I did was really just internalize everything and then share the news to my friends and family, just my family at first, and then eventually when it was nearing the actual announcement, a few of my friends. So really honored and grateful, and always, always to God be the glory, So yeah, that's for me.
I think even the teachers on the Global Teacher Prize, that's the same story. They have to reread the email and make sure that they read it correctly. So yeah, thank you so much, Leia. Zanti, how about you, Zanti?
Yes, sir. As I've said on my post about the Global Student Prize on Facebook, I wasn't expecting of entering the top 50 since it's a bit rush submission. Honestly, I'm conducting a certain method in our experimentation hours before the deadline. So I was not able to prepare enough for the content of my essays, the answers I provided on my application form. But fortunately, I was able to submit my essays. But still, at that point, I'm not expecting of getting in. I just tried to submit and I did as well. So when I learned I was able to enter the top 50 and shocked since I've said it's a rush. And yes, I'm very thankful and I tried to read also the email since I'm a bit anxious about the results if it's already final or we will be having a follow-up interview with Miss Rebecca. And yet, we had an interview with Miss Rebecca after the announcement.
And of course, I think we've learned from, I don't know if you're old enough to learn that, but in life, sometimes the rush moments of our lives are actually the best ones. So when you're not prepared at all, when you do things spontaneously, things turn out well. So I think some of our audience here might not know what Global Student Prize is. So sorry for that, but I know Migs is already very nag-practice na si Migs for the longest time for a year explaining what Global Student Prize is. So Migs, can you tell our audience what is Global Student Prize?
So yeah, hello everyone. Basically, the Check.org Global Student Prize is a $100,000 award given to an exceptional student who has been making a great impact to their communities, to their peers, and to their schools, and to their friends, and beyond. And I think, and it's one of the best platforms to actually encourage the youth to become better. And it's one of the best platforms to recognize the youth for what they have done and what their potentials are.
All right, thank you, Migs. Praktisado na si Migs in explaining. So, Global Student Prize is basically an award given to amazing students, or students who are making an impact. And you know, the session that we have right now is talking about the youth and making an impact in the communities, in school communities, in your provinces, cities, and even in the Philippines and beyond. So, thank you, Migs, for that quick explanation. Of course, also shout out to your parents there. I'm pretty sure they might be watching you, your families, beaming with pride right now. So, hello, dear parents, and the families of Mix Leia Santi. I'm pretty sure, like us, you're very proud of your child in front of you right now. Leia and Santi, I'm very interested. I read your profile, but I also want our viewers to know, Leia, what do you think is that special work or accomplishment that that made an impact in your school or your community that you think really pushed your application above the rest? Because I know, in both Global Teacher Prize and Global Student Prize, thousands and thousands of applications are actually being submitted all around the world. Now, as we talk about impact, Leia and Zanti, what is that work that you've done or that you have been continuously doing right now? Do you think really push your application above the rest? Leia, let's start with you.
All right, sure. So, I think a lot of things in general, not just my academic work, specifically at UP, and also my extracurriculars within UP, but also more importantly outside the school. Although I would like to warn, I'm not definitely sure what made me stand out. Correlation does not immediately mean causation. But for me, I feel like what really pushed me to the top 50 was my extracurricular work with the Independent Collective, or Indico. So the Independent Collective is a new media startup pushing boundaries through socially engaged conversation. So feel free to check us out at www.indie-co.com for more information. But in a nutshell, just to share what we're up to, we were founded in July 2020, back in the height of the pandemic. So I was like a little heartbroken, because just a lot of things did not pan out for me. And I spent that time just listening to podcasts by the Modern Love in the New York Times. And I think that inspired me a lot because I was a writer before of the Philippine Daily Inquirer. And in my head, I thought, if the New York Times could have this, why doesn't the Philippines have something like this? Just giving the platform for writers to talk about their hard work in writing those published articles, sharing their stories, and in effect, empowering individuals who want to be where they are now. So I started with a few friends who gratefully, thankfully accepted my invitation. And then eventually it just snowballed into becoming a bigger media startup that encompasses and exceeds the work I previously did at the Youngblood podcast. So it was rebranded into the Independent Collective just this 2022. And now we have a reach of over 2 million people through our website, our social media platforms, as well as our podcast. And we have over 6,000, nearing 7,000 subscribed listeners on Spotify and other podcast platforms. So I feel like that really allowed me to highlight not just my leadership skills, but also my biggest advocacy, which is empowering the youth through just education and social impact, with the work I do at the Independent Collective.
Thank you so much, and it's great to hear that your work on your work really speaks about amplifying the voice of the youth. And a while ago, we heard about making sure that the youth the voice of the youth is heard, right, in the different decision making. But of course, we also want to diversify the way the voice of the youth is heard. And I love that you're using different platforms like podcasts. I also have my podcast, so like Migs, I'm gonna interview Leia and Sandy in my podcast. And I love it because the more platforms that the youth is being welcome, the spaces that they have, the more contribution, the more empowered they feel. So Leia, congratulations on Indico. That's right, the independent collective Indico.
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Leia. How about you, Zanti? What is that impactful work that you have done that pushed your application above the rest?
Yes, sir. For me, the content of my answers was focused on me as an openly gay in the community and on how I managed to mobilize and empower not just myself, but also the community I belong to. It is all about my love for science and writing, particularly journalistic writing. The questions as a campus journalist, a friend, an inspiring scientist, a student, what is our purpose? How can we make ourselves useful? Are we all ready to be part of the solution? Became my guide questions. Honestly, while making essays, I tried to look back to everything I did from the past years. One significant thing that matters the most is the word purpose. So in my school, there are a lot of intelligent, powerful students driven by their respective advocacies and prowess in various fields. Surrounding myself with this type of people inspires me with overflowing ideas and motivation to spark change and explore new things. With a shared goal, my peers and the whole community are one in pushing advocacies in reach beneficial for all. From there, we have this collective action. We're able to join different competitions in UP Diliman, pitch making competitions in UP Los Baños, and also to conduct several research since I'm a fond of research. So my research interests are in field of biomaterials, behavioral sciences, systematic reviews, and genomics. Currently, I'm working with some of my peers in a research focusing on behavioral sciences, the imposter phenomenon, and also the coagulation activity for wastewater treatments using biomaterials such as chitin and chitosan. I've worked with these two biomaterials before as my scholarly work in high school, and it deals with the pharmaceutical properties of chitin and chitosan in human blood. As of now, I'm preparing for college, entering the realm of health sciences, and hoping to have a lot of opportunities there and to explore more with my new environment.
Wow, that's so cool. In my mind right now, I'm trying to catch up with the terms that you've used, bio materials or whatever things like that. I'm a teacher, but I'm not shy to say that I was lost in the things that you've said. But what is clear to me right now is that your amazing work really works on being a researcher. Are you envisioning yourself to be a future scientist? Well, you're a scientist right now, but do you see yourself that path along that path?
Yes, sir. I aspire to work at the DOST soon, hopefully, or to be a doctor.
Wow, that's great. So this is very interesting because a lot of students personally that I've know of would not really go with research because it's boring. To be honest, that's not my word. The word of my that's how my students would describe. It's boring. It's kind of tedious. A lot of work really. It takes much time and effort, but I love that Zanti is really showing us what really comes out with good research. And if you're a good researcher, and a lot of projects, I was reading your profile, Zanti, and you work also on a project called Vaccines Taps for Jobs. Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, sir. Actually, there was a project at the Kapnayan 2022, and it won second place in the pitch making competition. So the vaccines focuses on an application which will be used especially in boosting the vaccination campaign of the country, knowing that there are myths existing, especially about the vaccination, the COVID-19 itself, and through that platform, we can help people to understand more why is it important to be vaccinated, especially at this time that we are moving from the pandemic to the new normal.
Yeah. And I think that's a great that was a great project, especially with the times during the times when we were all scared with being vaccinated. Really, those are actions of a future good doctor, Santi. So we look forward to becoming a doctor. Leia, in your profile, it says that you are a writer as well. You're a mathematician. You have this startup. It's like a media startup, right? But you're also a creative writer and at the same time a mentor. Can you tell us more about those line of work that you have been doing?
Yeah, so it really sounds like I'm a jack of all trades, but I feel like my strongest point is really my writing. And it's actually my first love. Because when I was growing up, I really had parents who advocated for learning and just overall education in any form. So my parents wouldn't buy me toys, but they would buy me an unlimited number of books. So that was the rule of my parents, specifically my mom. Like whatever we wanted, as long as it was geared towards self improvement or just growth in general, she would allow us to have it. And I feel very privileged to have grown up in that like life as a child. And I think my love for reading really sparked my talent also. And if I dare say, really my strongest point, which is my writing. So I think I was about 8 or 9 when I won my first writing competition, and then it just really inspired me to keep writing. Eventually, I became part of the school organization in writing like a school publication, and I became the editor in chief. And I feel like that really gave me the confidence I had to write for the Philippine Daily Inquirer, which I've been published in 4 times at the Youngblood column. I also wrote a novel during my gap year before college, and an excerpt of which was published by Scarlet Leaf Publishing. And actually, this August 16, my first international book. It feels so surreal saying it, pa. But I was published on Chicken Soup for the Soul, which is gonna be out this August 16. Attitude for Gratitude. It will be available worldwide in print and online. And just knowing that it's gonna be soon is very exciting for me because the first nonfiction book that I read was Chicken Soup for the Soul, and then I just fell in love with all the stories out there. But I never really saw anyone from the Philippines. All the contributors were either from the US or the UK, basically all the Western countries. So I feel like getting published here is more of like an inspiration to my younger self, thinking that, hey, someone from a small city in the Philippines can do it. And it can be done, even when it seems like so impossible at first. But yeah, I feel like writing really has been one of my biggest loves, and eventually put me here today. And now, actually, at the Independent Collective, we have a writing workshop in which I'm a mentor to our students. Although it's very flexible, our students have already shared that the help we've given them, specifically from me, have allowed them to gain confidence in sharing their works, and now they're getting for publication as well, locally and abroad. So that's really heartwarming as a teacher and also at the same time as a student. Yeah, I'm in applied math now, and I really look forward to getting more into the tech space in the industry of research. Like Zanti, actually, I'm really interested in science. So I think this endeavor with the Independent Collective is like my way of not totally cutting my tie from the humanities and from writing, but really just staying in touch with what spurred my love for education and learning in general, which was reading and writing. So, yeah, that's about me as a writer. And thanks for the question, Sir Jim.
Thank you, Leia. And that was a very interesting point in the end. I think as a teacher, I would say, reading matters, humanities matters. For our teachers out there, we will have students who are very good in math, who will be focusing in science. We have the STEM and those track. My personal bias as a teacher is to always ensure that our students are very much well-rounded. Let's not forget humanities, reading, in fact, like literacy, those track, literacy, humanities, philosophy, all those work, all those bodies of knowledge also will make our future scientists, mathematician, um, do all their work with much empathy and compassion. We don't want to end up with, you know, bad scientists without moral or something. So make sure that your kids read about humanities. And speaking of writing and journalism, I know when I met Migs last year, Migs is actually an accomplished journalist, a student journalist. And I do remember Migs during our podcast. And right now, I'm really inspired again because in the 90s, when I was in grade school, I'm also part of, the student organization for journalism. And right now, hearing everyone really gives me that flashback of how I felt empowered when I was a student, like every one of you, of course, when I was in grade school. So, Migs, we want to hear from you how's life post, nomination of in the Global Student Prize.
So ayun, okay naman po Sir Jim. It's still overwhelming honestly to think that even like someone from a small city like Atalaya can be recognized alongside Stanford and even Harvard students. I believe it's amazing. It's still overwhelming. And what's amazing is that you're not just recognized along these top 50 students of the world. You actually get the opportunity to be with them, to talk with them, to work with them, and bring it to your own community. And I believe that the GSP gave me a lot of opportunities, especially when I became a finalist. And this is all thanks to, of course, the exposure that DepEd ICO has given us. And generally, I think it was very empowering because there are a lot of opportunities that being a finalist can give you. Pero siguro one of the most notable opportunities is that when I was able to meet a lot of people, not just here in the Philippines, I was able to meet educational stakeholders even in other countries because I was a Global Student Prize finalist. Like there was one time, I think in 2021, I was invited to be in the UNESCO Teachers Task Force School Leadership Network meeting, and this was very empowering for me considering that before the GSP, like what I said, I was just a simple student in the province, and now I'm given the chance to be in the same room, well, virtual room with international education leaders. And I also think that the GSP helped me push my advocacy more for campus journalism. Like, dahil sa Global Student Prize, I was able to teach aspiring campus journalists, not just here in the community, but also in other countries. Like, I think it was also in 2022 when I was able to teach students in the Philippine School Bahrain, and I think I think it's awesome for me. It's giving a lot. It's giving me a platform to push more for my advocacy, and I think to add to add just one last one. Another one was I became the community head of Explain PH, where I was able to push more for my advocacies. So basically, the community division where I am the leader is the civic engagement and student empowerment arm of Explain PH. It aims to impact communities around the nation through responsible and youth-led journalism. I'm actually trying to recruit Zanti because he is also from Explain PH. And one of our first projects in Explain community was explained by the people. It's basically we invite advocates, journalists, student leaders, activists, and more to write for Explained, even if they're not a member. I feel like it's a way to encourage fellow youth to showcase their perspectives, their experiences, or advocacies through writing. And I think in line siya with the theme of our International Youth Day, which is all about empowerment. So, ayun, para sa mga nakikinig ngayon, if you have anything on your mind, if you have an opinion, or if you want to raise awareness on an advocacy, you can hit me up and we can amplify your voice through Explained by the People.
Thank you, Mix. And we can never have too many spaces for our youth. So the more spaces that we have for youth, the better. And Mix, thank you for inviting our audience right now. All our audience, ang mga teachers natin sa audience ngayon, ang mga viewers natin. There's Mix, Leia, and Santi are testament to the hard work of teachers, actually. Teachers. So, dear teachers, I know you're feeling inspired right now because I am feeling inspired right now. If you have students right now, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of amazing students, Filipino students in our country. So, This I have a big request for our teachers. Make sure that you share this conversation right now to your students. I know you have a group chat, especially if they're part of a student council, and tell them it's Saturday afternoon. It's raining. It's about to rain here in Manila, but take time, please, to share this and get your students inspired as well. Um, there's a comment here. Makes, please give us info on how to access explain.ph. So that is actually my next question right now. Um, with all of the work that you have, I'm gonna start with Mix because this came out in the question in the comment box. Where can you give us information on how they can access, know more details about the work that you've mentioned? So let's start with Migs.
So
Someone's
yeah,
asking about explain.ph.
So Explain PH is a non-profit, non-stock organization. It's a youth-driven organization. We just got recognized by the SEC, which is amazing. And you can access us through our website at www.explained.ph. So it's with an ED. You can also access us on Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Basically, all. We even have a podcast. So if specifically you want to uh, submit an article for Explained by the People, you can submit an article to the email of our community division, which is at community@explain.ph.
So explained that page. There's an ED. So
Yeah.
explained.ph. Thank you,
PH.
Migs. Leia, Indico. Anywhere? How would they know more about Indico?
Yeah, so we're actually on all social media platforms, except for obviously like OnlyFans. Let's not get into that. We're wholesome, but yeah, we're online.
Leia, they might not know. Your teachers might not know that. You're on a different.
Yeah, sorry,
Very
but yeah,
Women
we
of
just wanted to
empowerment.
clarify that. But yeah, we always get that, and I joke about it because we're a media startup, and then like whenever people say you're on all social media platforms, and I always like say no, but most like wholesome ones. So we're at www.indie-co.com, and we're also on Spotify, The Independent Collective. You can also check us out on Facebook at The Independent Collective, on Instagram at the.indie.co, and on Twitter at the_indie_co. So you can also find us actually on, if you just Google us, The Independent Collective, you can find us immediately. So what's interesting is also that we have a LinkedIn page where we're trying to be more active at. So you can also follow us there if you have LinkedIn accounts, which I highly recommend students and teachers to make. So it's opened a lot of doors for me, including my work with the Independent Collective, because that's where I message most people we interview. So yeah, I just hope you follow us there because we're planning to also write more articles, and get into really more about education and social impact through the write-ups that we make. So please feel free to follow us, and yeah, listen to our episodes more than anything. I'm very inspired by most and all of our guests actually. And I'm looking forward to also checking out Sir Jim's empowered podcast. So yeah.
You'll be a guest there, Leia and Santi. So don't worry. All right. Zanti, you're part of explained.ph as well, right? So it's the same
Yes, sir.
platform, Zanti?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm part of the opinion desk of the Explain PH. So I write opinion articles and somehow science stories. But for now, I'm hoping to publish my research papers on some of the journals so that you can have access to. For now, I can invite you also to join different organizations such as Rise for Education Alliance High School, wherein we stand for the rights of the students to quality education, the NSMO, the National Scientific and Math-Oriented Education. So we push for that, and we advocate for the quality education here in the country.
All right, thank you. So amazing work, Leia, Zanti, and Migs. Really inspiring seeing students, the work of teachers, having these kinds of students, the effort that we put into now, because our teachers are our audience right now and school leaders actually. The next question is really more of how can teachers support students like you? Not just for you to study hard. You always hear that from us, right? From us teachers, study hard and all those kinds of things. But how do you think can teachers support students like you so that you can continue studying hard, at the same time do the work, do the extra work above and beyond the call of being a student right now? So what do you want to hear from teachers?
So can
Anyone
I
who would
start?
like to start?
Yeah, can I
Yes,
start?
Mates, go.
So yeah. So I think since we're all about empowerment, I believe na isa talaga sa mga susi ng empowerment is yung pagbibigay ng trust ng teachers sa ating students. Basically, giving other people your trust to be empowered as well. Because I believe that the youth has a lot of potential. There are a lot of great minds in our country. There are a lot of young scientists, young journalists, and I think marami pa rin ang hindi pa nade-develop ang kanilang potential, because sometimes students do think na walang nagtitiwala sa kanila, and I think our teachers can fill that role to trust and believe in their students. I believe that the real essence of teaching is, not just merely feeding students some educational information or educational material, but I think the real essence of teaching is, empowering your students and trusting them to be better, to be good.
Thank you, Migs. And I love that, the sense of trust, really. I'm not explaining the teachers, speaking for the teachers right now, but I do understand, some teachers, how do you call that? Because I also experienced having that kind of challenge. You yearn as a student, as a learner, you yearn for the trust from your teachers. But at the same time, that teachers can be mother hen, the mother hen instinct of teachers, making sure that you always do what is right, that's everything that is good, things like that. And sometimes they might seem overbearing, like your parents out there. Sometimes like parents, because they want things to be good, happy for you. And sometimes, it's not because they don't trust you. It's sometimes they just want the best things for you. But that's a good start of message makes. I really appreciate that. So teachers, on the other hand, teachers, coming from me as a teacher, it's okay to let your students explore, having that trust for them to explore. And sometimes we're too scared that they might do stuff that are not aligned with what we want to happen. But they'll hopefully, the likes of Migs, Leia, and Zanti, I do know that they learn from their mistakes and from exploring everything, right? So thank you, Migs. How about you, Leia?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I think it's a very important point to talk about, especially now that this year's International Youth Day celebrations theme is about intergenerational solidarity. So, as a member of the youth, I know that I don't know everything. So, I really look up to my teachers, professors, and mentors. And one very specific moment that really made me feel supported was recently, because my dad is sick currently, and there were times when I couldn't go to school, attend classes because I had to care for him or I had responsibilities at home. And then my teachers would always reach out and like tell me, hey, we were supposed to do this, we're supposed to do that. We're glad that your dad's okay, put your family first, but also like don't forget these responsibilities. So I appreciate teachers who obviously, number one, always empower students, but second and more importantly, who go beyond just their basic task, which is to empower and inform students, but also to reach out outside of the classroom and really empathize with the student more than anything. I think empathy is a very important trait for teachers to have, because apparently, especially now in the middle of online classes and COVID-19, students can often feel left out and isolated. There are students who cannot do their best work inside the four walls of their bedroom, even with like live streamed classes. So it's very important also for teachers professors, mentors, anyone really teaching anyone else to see yourself in your students or your mentees' shoes. So it was very heartwarming and very helpful for me to have really great professors who care for me not just as a student but also as an individual. So that's very important. I feel like just empathize with your students and just go do the superhuman work you're doing as a teacher. I really look up to teachers who are very selfless in nature and really full of so much love for teaching and passionate about empowering the next generation of leaders like them.
Thank you, Leia. And for the last 2 years, I think in the education world, empathy has really been a buzzword, and I hope that it goes beyond being a buzzword. And as we transition back to the face-to-face on-site learning, that is something. And Leia, thank you for pointing that out. And a lot of our teachers really do a lot of superhuman work. And thank you to the teachers of Leia as well for showing that kind of superhuman work. A lot of discussions are actually in the education system right now is about not just academics anymore, but how can teachers build meaningful relationship with their students. And a lot of research actually just simply say it's about showing empathy and understanding your students as well. So thank you for that reminder, Leia. How about Zanti?
Yes, sir. I agree with Atele and Migs. No, teachers are significant, especially in honing the capabilities of the students. No, as a second parent sa schools, they are expected to be with us. I mean, they should be with the students in creating avenues to nurture and develop the members of the community and to foster healthy environment for all. Maybe we have these teachers who share their stories, their lives in classes. I mean, almost half of their time period was about biography of their lives. Maybe yes, it's ridiculous. We gathered a lot. I mean, we consumed a lot of time for that, but we gathered a lot of lessons from there. And maybe it's not academic related stuff. Surely it is useful for our lives. I mean, more of the impact. Paano po ba nakakatulong yung mga teachers in inspiring students? Paano po ba kami magiging inspired in pursuing different fields na makakapagpabuti, makakapagpatibay sa amin? So, inspire. I think that's the bottom line of my viewpoint about the teachers. I'm not here, not because, if not because of them, they were able to inspire me to do great things, marvelous one that can struck change in our communities and to better the world we are living in.
Thank you, Santi. And putting everything together, trust, empathy, and inspiration. So I think that's a very Ruth Medford says you all need to be heard more, together with all the others who are simply needing to be taken out of the woodwork. Please continue to bring out these kids these kinds of online talks. Yeah, I think it's very important. I love that you have taken that sincerity of sharing how your teachers could support you and how your teachers have been supporting you, and 3 simple but impactful words that you have mentioned: trust, empathy, and inspiration. So dear teachers, mga teachers na kasama namin dyan, very challenging, but do know that we have teachers showing all of this. That's why you have Sandy, Migs, and Leia here, because teachers we're doing a lot of superhuman work. And sometimes as teachers there's this imposter moment or syndrome moment for teachers when they also try to ask themselves if they're doing well. They've prepared a lot of great lessons, and then visibly the class is so rowdy or noisy or whatever, and sometimes they just ask what just happened. Teachers, we've heard from Miguel, Santi, and Leia, much appreciation is given to all of us, but let us not forget to trust our students, to show empathy, especially at this moment. And then, above and beyond all of these works, we are inspirations to our students as well. So thank you for those kind words that you have said, Mix Day and Santi. And of course, on to our last question right now. What about your fellow youth? Just to be candid, the youth right now, you all belong to the Gen Z, or maybe the younger ones are Generation Alpha. And some people would say, and I'm saying this because I've heard this, I'm not perpetuating the stereotype, but all these kids, they just know how to do TikTok or whatever, all those kinds of things. They're so good in social media, they get to create their own video, but when they go to the classroom, it's as if nothing's happening. Or maybe when they don't go outside, all these kinds of stereotypes about the youth. You get to hear those things. So how do we fight these stereotypes? How can your fellow youth fight this stereotype and say, you guys make Santi Leo, of course I don't think you fit those stereotypes clearly, because you've done amazing work. But how do you get to inspire your fellow youth as well?
Yeah, I think I can go first.
Go,
That's all
Leah.
right. Yeah, well, I feel like we're not really that kind of young person that you just described, Sir Jim, but there are definitely from time to time moments when like students like us who look beyond just the current happenings or things that we can do as youth as really fun. So for me, for context, I grew up really not so much pushed, but rather just inspired by my teachers and parents that, my life was more than what I just really wanted to do. And as a kid, apparently, I really wanted to party, attend all these different events. But when I was younger, I was always reminded by my parents about my beginnings, which my grandfather was an orphan. He lost his parents when he was a kid. So he had to work his back off in order to send himself to school. And also the same for my mother's side, whose parents didn't even graduate college. So for them to really raise my parents, who are lawyers and really doing the great work that they're doing in order to help people, gave me the inspiration to look beyond my privileges and my own wants, but also to focus on how can I help people like my grandparents who didn't have anything, and inspire them and give them sort of like that leg up that other kids don't have. So for me, it's important for you to have like a deeper meaning or a deeper purpose, for you to break out of that teenage angst, stereotypical, I just want to party, I want to have my boyfriend, my girlfriend, stuff like that. I just want to travel the world and have fun. So I think it's important to have like a deeper meaning to your life than just that in order to break free of that stereotype. I'm not saying you should, but I'm saying you can try slowly, day by day, and not immediately change all at once. As for me, I'm just very lucky that even when I went on a gap year, just to say, hey, I missed out so much of my youth. I spent my teenage years literally studying the Bible as part of the national quiz team, also studying math. I spent my summers studying in China, in the States, and I'm not saying that as like sounding really like complaining about them, but even people who are privileged enough like me would rather not do that. So I think a huge part of why I decided to go through those hardships and really put myself under those pressures was because I knew that I wasn't just doing it for myself. I was doing it for a bigger reason. At first, it was just to bring honor to my country, and also to help people who are not really privileged as me. But eventually, it became more of like the internal question: if I'm not gonna do it now, who's gonna do it and when? And I just feel inspired by that statement, actually, by Emma Watson, who is like one of my biggest idols, because she is one of the people who broke stereotypes of like Hollywood celebrities. As a kid, she didn't self-destruct like most Hollywood celebrities. So I think she would be like a better example for you to follow if you really do want to break those stereotypical boxes that limit you to be bigger than what people think we are as youth. So I encourage you, once you start making that journey into looking at life not just about yourself and fun, to not immediately gun for like changing the world or finding a cure for cancer, maybe even writing like the next New York Times bestseller, but first try to make a little bit of impact in your own little corner of the world. So it doesn't have to be something that needs to be recognized all at once. It could be simply just helping your family out at home, doing your chores, not complaining that I don't want to wash the dishes, I want to watch this film or something. So maybe something like that, and it could eventually snowball into something bigger that you could do outside of your home. Like maybe do something for your school, a fundraiser, anything that benefits not just yourself but the community and beyond. So all the best
Thank
in
you,
that
Leah.
endeavor.
Yeah. Sorry. You want to finish?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say all the best in that endeavor if you do choose to really break free from that stereotype. Thanks,
I love that I love that you mentioned about breaking the stereotype, and you've said a while ago this is also a platform where we appreciate different generations, and sometimes it takes also like my generation and the older ones, there's a call also to step backwards and really see how things are and appreciate how people are. But I love that you balance that out with the youth breaking free from these things, and that breaking free is actually not literally just rebelling or something, but it's just basically knowing what you want to do in life, not just for yourself but for other people. So that's those are wonderful words, Leia. How about Migs and Santi? How do you wish to inspire the youth? How can they make impact as well?
Hello, so siguro I can go first na, then Sandy will go last. So ayun, first off, I believe that anything you want to do can make an impact in your community. Like you can be a campus journalist, you can be an activist, you can be a student leader, or you can be a student researcher. You can be anything because you have a lot of potential. And I think we are labeled as the pag-asa ng bayan because of this potential and our unique time advantage. Like we have a lot of time because we are the future, and we can like use the future to cultivate the potential that we have. But sometimes I think na bakit ba natin ikukulong yung sarili natin sa potential lang? I believe that we can go beyond our potential, and I think na we don't have to wait for the future for us to pursue our advocacies, to develop our skills, or to help our community. Ultimately, I believe that the youth doesn't need to wait for the future or for time to come. Like if you have an advocacy to push, you can do it now. If you have something on your mind, speak it out now. Or if you have a dream project, you can start now. Because the sooner that we begin to immerse ourselves in the community, the better we will be in building the future that we will have. Sabi nga ni Ate Lea kanina, kung hindi ngayon, kailan pa? Kung hindi tayong kabataan, sino pa?
Yeah, that's lovely, Mix. And I love that what you mentioned about why not start now, why wait for later. That's a very, very wonderful insight. That's a nugget of wisdom that everyone should hear, whether you are youth, an adult, or maybe just a kid. That's a nugget of wisdom that we want everyone to hear. No, why wait for later if you can do things right now? Thanks, Mix. How about Santi?
Yes, sir. With that question po, I was able to recalibrate one of the advice that my mentor in high school gave me for graduating. Know your purpose. Then, actually, I also asked myself, how? Then, maybe the answer is enjoy. Unravel the world, go out of your comfort zone, think of your interest, your passion, know your capabilities and how to expand it. Actually, yesterday I was able to, I was creating a rush fab mats for, publicity materials for my organization. It's all about the International Youth Day. And yeah, while conceptualizing the materials, I realized from the year 1999, youth is indeed powerful for meeting the demands of the generation, mobilizing the calls, the developments for each of the societies, and being the catalyst of change in the community. As we say, in one of our educational discussions, the Youth on March, youth is the best fighting age. We need to stand up for ourselves, for the coming generations, for the country, because we do believe that through collective action, we can do more. So, kailangan natin panghawakan mabuti yung mga kataga ni Jose Rizal na kabataan ng pag-asa ng bayan. It may sound cliche, pero maybe that's our purpose. Yun po, sir.
Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, and I love that you mentioned about it's basically it's an age-old wisdom, knowing yourself, know thyself. Okay, pop quiz. Sandy, Migs, Leia, who said that? Know thyself.
Sir Jim.
No,
I
it's,
don't know.
I'm not taking the credit. Philosopher, early Greek philosopher.
Socrates?
Yeah, it's Socrates. Yeah, it's an age-old wisdom, and and I love that Santi is pointing that out. The idea that for us to really make an impact, of course we need to go out there, explore what the world is offering us, right? But we can just go out there if we really know ourselves. Sometimes people say, go out there, get lost. While being lost, you'll find yourself. But there's also that wisdom of knowing who you are, right? Knowing your capabilities, your passion. And as youth, as kids, when I was a kid before, every day my passion or the things that I like to do changes depending on how I get inspired, because I get to exposed, right? And that's the beauty, I think, of what Zanti is saying about it a while ago. That kind of idea that for us to create an impact, we need to understand who we are, our own strengths, and even our own weaknesses of our areas of improvement. So lovely wisdom coming from Leia, coming from Migs, coming Santi. Leia, breaking free, understanding your purpose. Migs, really reminding ourselves that if we can do something right now, let's not wait for tomorrow. And of course, for Santi, exploring yourself, your passion, and understanding who you are. I think when you put all these things together, this amazing youth leaders, student leaders in front of us are simply telling us things that we need to learn for our lives to get better. Of course, they're coming from a very young, not that I'm not old, or maybe I don't think our audience would also say that they're old, but it's very refreshing and, to be honest, very inspiring to hear words of wisdom, inspiring ideas from the youth. So cliche, like what Santiago mentioned a while ago, the youth, that was one time directed to me as well. Diba? Every year naman, every generation, that's a good reminder. And it pays to keep on repeating what Dr. Rizal has, reminded us. And it should be continued, because if we want our youth to continue making an impact, then they must have that sense of awareness and ownership that we are, or the youth is the hope of the country. Whatever generation, whose generation that would be said. So there. Thank you so much. We're now on our last stretch, and this is basically me on behalf of DepEd, the Department of Education, the Department of Education International Cooperation Office of Empower Ed as well, and of course, as an ambassador for Global Teacher Prize. Migs is now an ambassador of Global Student Prize. The whole Varki family around the world, we are so happy and thankful, and we are happy, not just happy, we're beaming with pride for Santi and Leia for making it to the shortlist of top 50 finalists. Leia and Santi, when are we going to know the top 10? Is there an announcement to be done? When are we going to hear it?
Yeah, so according to the Varkey Foundation and check.org, it will be out on October 2022. There's no exact date, but it's about a month or two from now.
Okay, so let's wish Santi and Leia much good luck as they wait for that announcement for the top 10. So, but for now, congratulations, Santi and Leia, and Migs, of course. thank you for continuing, for your continuous work, continuously inspiring every one of us here. So, if there are questions, if there are insights to be done, if there are questions that you would like to ask about Global Student Prize, please visit chat.org for more info on the Global Student Prize. And of course, I'm going to take this opportunity to promote as well in the coming months, I think, the application or the nomination for the Global Teacher Prize 2022 will be open. So please, teachers, if you know an inspiring teacher as well, you are invited, you are encouraged to nominate that teacher to the Global Teacher Prize. It's a $1 million prize for the best teacher of the world. So there, at this juncture, let us listen to the closing remarks by the Honorable Raul Daniel Manuel of the Kabataan Party List representative. So thank you, Santi, Leia, and Migs. We'll see you around, hopefully.
Good day to all. This is Raul Manuel, the representative of Kabataan Party List, the first, only, and genuine youth voice in the 19th Philippine Congress. I'd like to take the opportunity to express that we are very honored that the International Cooperation Office of the Department of Education invited us to deliver the closing remarks for this affair that showcases the visions and ideas of our fellow young Filipinos. We'd also like to congratulate ating mga kapwa-kabataan who are among the top 50 finalists of the Global Student Prize. This affair was held in line with the 23rd International Youth Day with the theme Intergenerational Solidarity, Creating a World for All Ages. Also, this year, the Philippines celebrating the first National Youth Day by virtue of Republic Act 11913 that lapsed into law on July 30, 2022. The global theme imparts to all of us the need for different generations to cooperate for the common good. Those in the older generations who strive to push for fairness and justice serve as inspirations for us, the younger ones, to continue the quest for a better society. While we, the younger generations, in the process of participating in social change, keep the fire burning, and we give hope to other age groups. The theme also brings to light what we call ageism, which the World Health Organization defines as the stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination directed towards others or even oneself based on age. The UN adds, and I quote, "Young people continue to report age-related barriers in various spheres of their lives, such as employment, political participation, health, and justice. On an individual level, these age-related obstacles can deeply impact well-being and livelihoods not only during the youth years, but also in adulthood." End of quote. Contrary to notions that the youth of today are stuck in the online world and lack the fervent desire to contribute to nation building, Filipino youth have always demonstrated in numerous ways how we can be of service to our country. For example, amid the pandemic, we have advocated for safe, accessible, and quality education for all. And there are young Filipinos who have been active in alternative learning centers or hubs to help in the learning of their fellow students. In times of calamities or disasters, young volunteers with their resourcefulness and agility find ways to respond, and they provide immediate aid while seeking long-term solutions and proposing efforts to prepare our people for future calamities. On the first National Youth Day, we reaffirm our commitment to the 9-point youth agenda, which was crafted through consultations, interviews, and exhaustive research with and by youth networks and organizations. The 9-point youth agenda includes education, basic social services amid the pandemic, decent jobs and wages, genuine agrarian reform, good governance, rights, justice, and peace, national sovereignty, environmental protection and climate action, and finally, gender equality. As we move toward attaining our objectives for the youth, our concerted efforts are valuable. That is why let's continue to put our faith in the ideas of the young and support them so that they may have the opportunities to make their visions a reality. Good day to all and happy National Youth Day.
Sasamahan kita kahit isang eroplano ang agwat nating dalawa. Dahil kung nakakapagsalita lamang ang paliparan, ikukwento niya kung ilang beses akong lumingon pabalik sa'yo nung araw na ako'y lumisan. Papalubog ang araw noon at dahan-dahan lumulubog din ang puso ko sa kalungkutan. Ayaw sana kitang iwan. Gusto kitang samahan. Sa mga umagang nagmamadali ka papasok sa eskwela. Gusto kitang damayan sa mga gabing nahihirapan ka sa matematika. Gusto kitang yakapin sa tuwing gusto mo nang sumuko dahil akala mo'y wala kang talento sa pagpinta. Ngunit anak, gusto kong ipaalam sa'yo na ikaw ang nagpinta ng buhay ko. Nang dumating ka, naging makulay ang mundo ko. Ang dating mga baluktot na linya ay naging tuwid. Ang dating madilim na larawan ay nabigyan ng liwanag. Kaya anak, gusto pa rin kitang samahan sa bawat mong karanasan, sa mga tagumpay at kabiguan. Sasamahan kita hanggang marating mo ang mga ulap, hanggang maabot mo ang iyong mga pangarap.
Hello, Ma?
Hello, anak. Sorry, kakatapos lang ng trabaho ni Mama.
Okay lang po, Ma. Kakatapos lang din naman po namin maglaro.
Mukhang nandyan ka ulit sa paborito mong lugar, ah. O sige, ready ka na ba? Punta ka na sa DepEd Commons. Math tayo ngayon, ha? Saan na nga ulit tayo nahinto kahapon? Sa problem solving na, di ba?
Anak, sasamahan kita. Kahit isang eroplano ang agwat nating dalawa.